If you got it, go and get to win and not conquer. I had to go out and get it without a sponsor. Kept it real, never crooked, yeah, that's honor. Now I can go out and get it how I want to. Hashtag blessed, I choose.
What is up, Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter? Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show. Great to see you guys. Today is Monday, April 29th, and boy, oh boy, we got a great show for you today, and we also have a great show for you planned on LFA TV today. So we just got back from San Diego, where we started to film our documentary called What is Treason? And the intel and the information I'm going to share to you about what I think is probably one of the most important stories of our generation, of our lifetime. We're going to be sharing that over on LFA TV today. So please come over there and join us at 2 p.m. exclusively on Rumble. And I'm going to introduce a special guest. Right down in the description, I've shared links to everything. It goes by the username at BTC_MS_thriving, and another Twitter page as well, which is at BTC Mass Adoption. I'm going to bring on Jeffrey Kessler. How are you doing, Jeffrey? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ryan. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's an honor to have you on the show. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll kind of dive into this interview and get into things, man. You guys might need some tissues later. You might get a little bit of motivation from today's interview. So get ready, guys. Smash that like button for us.
Thanks, dude. Quick elevator pitch about me. I'm 60 years old. I was an entrepreneur since early 20s. Started and sold many private equity-backed businesses. In 2020, I had a couple of retail locations in Boston. The pandemic hit, and I made a rash decision to close everything down. I could just sense the way the government and the way society was trending, and I shut that business down. And that allowed me the freedom and the free time to research Bitcoin. And I went down the rabbit hole in 2020, and here we are today.
Let's start there from the very beginning. Let's talk about what it was like when you decided to shut your business down. Tell us a little bit about what business you ran. We had talked about it a little bit before, but I want to give the audience a little bit of an understanding.
Yeah, we had 40 locations in the U.S., and then I sold that business and opened up 18 locations in Toronto, Canada. So I did it in all of North America. We were in the vintage clothing business, typically high-end sneakers, Jordans, Yeezys, vintage shirts, $200 t-shirts, just really cool stuff. And we were in all the best locations in all major cities and on the major fashion streets. And it was very exciting to be involved in, very great business. The margins were great. But when 2020 hit, with the regulations of, you got to close down, you got to stand 6 feet apart, you can only open this many hours, and then I saw their Targets being open, Home Depot's being open, cannabis, weed places still being open, liquor stores still being
Strip
open.
clubs.
Right. Strip club. Of course, the three necessary things in life: booze,
Yep.
drugs, and strippers.
Yep.
That was facetious. And I saw that happening, and then I had to close. I still had to pay my rent, but I had to close my business. And then I saw all the Black Lives Matter protests, and it's okay. We have to be locked in our home, but you can go outside and protest with thousands of people. So nothing made sense. That was breaking new grounds for, I think, society, and had no idea how bad it could be. But something inside of me told me the government overreach is becoming stronger and stronger. I luckily was at a stage at life where I've had many successes, and I was able to take a step back and just shut that down, which is what I did. And it's one of the best, well, it probably is, besides having my children, it was the best move I've made because it allowed me the freedom, because I was working so much, the freedom to learn about Bitcoin and educate myself, hence protecting my family, my kids, and their kids.
Wow, that's pretty impactful. What year was it that it was in 2020 when you when you decided to step away, that you really started to dive into Bitcoin?
Yeah, March of 2020. So it was right at the beginning of COVID. That's when the markets crashed. Bitcoin went down to $3,000. I had heard about it, didn't pay much attention. I was busy thinking I was a fiat, a fiat golden boy, building these companies, private equity backed companies, and selling them, thinking who's smarter than me? So I just kept on going. So that allowed me to stop that stupidness and understand Bitcoin. So it got down to $3,000 in March. I might be off a little bit, but that's pretty much what it is.
Yep.
I put a little money in, then I kept on watching it go up. I'm like, wait a minute, and then the more I read, obviously I read Saifedean's book. I read probably 30 Bitcoin books within like 2 months, listened to every podcast possible, just went crazy 24 hours a day. I couldn't sleep. I just had to digest this information. Clearly, my family and my friends, they basically had an intervention with me. They got in touch with my best friend and said, hey, Jeff's going off the deep end. He's crazy. We got to control him. I had to make my circle of friends much smaller. Once I understood, the last part of it is I saw Saylor go all in with his first $250 million of August of 2020. And once Saylor did that combined with my conviction that I had prior, I basically put my whole family's net worth all in on Bitcoin that day. And that's where I am today.
Wow, what a smart play, man. Good for you, buddy.
Well, there was some block by leveraging shit that didn't work out so well because, again, I thought this was unbelievable. I have it all covered. I know what I'm doing. So I've suffered some pain, like probably most people.
Yep.
But I had to get back up on the horse. What are you going to do? You lost some Bitcoin. Just
been there.
Build it back up.
Yep.
So that's where I am today. But one thing is Bitcoin is, I heard someone say this, it could have been Canute. Who I really love. He said Bitcoin allows you to take away all of the noise out there. It's not that Bitcoin's pure signal. It allows you to understand what real signal is and allows you to think clearly. It just removes all the noise because once you fully understand Bitcoin and how true it is and how you can't rock it off its foundation, it just makes a clear pathway to see the rest of the world and to see all the fiat nonsense around us, which is highly encompassing everywhere we go.
Yeah, I think it's Jeff Booth who said when you have abundance in money, you have scarcity in everything else. And when you have scarcity in money, you have abundance of everything else. And we're watching that right now. You're seeing capital fly from every bank account. As soon as money, you sell a business, you do anything with that money, people no longer sit on the money. The money immediately flies out into the market to find whatever investment vehicle it can park itself in. So you're creating so much more demand because people don't want to save in the dollars, which is driving constant. You constantly have this constant buy pressure on every item around the world. And then you mix in government corruption with that. And where like property values should be coming down right now, like money's getting tight. It's harder for people to borrow. People are losing their mortgage or houses. Bankruptcies are at an all-time high. Car possessions are at an all-time high. 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, but yet the price on everything is still going up because where we'd normally be going into a recession, you have the government, which is still printing money, and then they're injecting that money into the market via buying properties for migrants. So we have 30 million migrants that are now, you're talking about, like, we just did the basic math from where we went based off of hotels only charging $300 per head per day per migrant, right? And we're talking about food, clothing, housing, cell phones, insurance, healthcare, doctors, like the whole 9 yards. We just did it on like the basic bottom line, $300 per day per migrant. You're talking about a $1.79 trillion a year that our government is going to be investing in these migrants. That's our tax dollars. So that's a $1.7 trillion worth of demand being put back into the market.
Well, right. I'm going to push back on you a little bit. You said that's our tax dollars. We don't have enough tax dollars to pay for that. So
correct.
We're getting that money by deficit spending. We're getting that money by fake money that central banks print and buy U.S. government treasury bills. It's all being everything we're involved in is fake.
Yep.
Every single thing we're involved in is fake. It's fictitious. It's monopoly money that this whole system's running on. So that's why I sleep well at night knowing that I have Bitcoin.
Yeah, you have to right now. And then, and Eric V. Stex dives into it and he talks about, all you need to know about Bitcoin is that it goes up when people serve their self-interest, right? And people are always going to serve their self-interest, and they're always going to be looking for that investment vehicle which best serves their interest. And Bitcoin outperforms every other asset, and it always has, and it pretty much always will. So people are always going to be trying to park their capital in the best place, and Bitcoin becomes that. So you're going to start to see Bitcoin where people would go and find real estate as an investment vehicle to park their capital in. I think there still will be that demand for real estate because of the finite supply. But at the same time, you're watching people like BlackRock that have bought $15 billion worth of Bitcoin in the last 5 months. That's 15 billion that they most likely would have put into single family homes, into real estate, right? But instead it's going into Bitcoin. So you're starting to see Bitcoin put this deflationary pressure on the market. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I just think there's a higher level plan for the ETFs, and BlackRock leading the way with custody at Coinbase.
What do you think it is?
Well, again, this is my opinion, and
Yep.
I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat.
I like those.
Some
though.
people might say that. I can see the writing on the wall, because the government knew they couldn't defend or stop Bitcoin. I mean, look what happened when China banned mining, right? So they know they can't. You can ban Bitcoin, but you're just banning it from yourself. Bitcoin will go on whether it's legal or not legal in your jurisdiction. So I think what they're doing is setting up, pushing people into the ETFs, and clearly the ETFs are not buying Bitcoin. They're an IOU to Bitcoin. So when the shit hits the fan, they'll do I think the government, and I put this, the odds of this happening are, in my opinion, over 75%. So I think it's very strong, unless something comes up and changes the plan. I think eventually they're going to push people into the BlackRock ETF or any other of the ETFs, and then there'll be a huge honeypot of custody, and they'll confiscate the coins. So those Bitcoins are so, but the person, here's the issue. Right now, how it's set up, you get cash back. It's not in kind, it's cash settled. So you get cash back when you sell your Bitcoin ETF. You don't get Bitcoin back, you get the cash value. So my guess is the government will confiscate all the Bitcoin from, they'll make up some story, all the Bitcoin from Coinbase. They'll give people cash back, maybe give them a haircut on that cash back. And then they will be holding billions of dollars in Bitcoin. And then they're going to try to make self-custody illegal. Like this past week has been crazy what they've done about money transmitters and money service businesses. That to me is another step in their plan to kind of choke off self-custody in non-KYC Bitcoin. So eventually I think that's the plan. So my suggestion is try to get non-KYC Bitcoin, but adhere to you can go to exchanges and do KYC, but get your coins off exchanges where they can be confiscated, lost, or stolen, and get it into your own hardware wallet, possibly a multi-sig setup, so you can kind of mitigate your mistakes for losing your coins or making mistakes with your coins. But I think that's the end game. I think the sooner everybody gets there, the better.
I agree. I honestly could not agree more. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Do you think that's the way it's going to go?
100%. You couldn't convince me otherwise at this point, and that's why. So what's your timeline on that? You would think that they would have to do it if that is the master plan? They execute it before the 2024 election, or do you think they drive all that money when they're going to start? Either they want to cut interest rates so bad, they desperately want to cut rates, but I think they're going to start QE and start injecting liquidity into the market without lowering rates, which is going to be interesting to see. Do you think they do this? They confiscate this before 2024 for the election?
My gut tells me that's a little too soon because there's so many moving parts, and it's very hard because the Democrats have to figure. Democrat Republican doesn't really matter. I want people to understand this. It's not about left versus right. It's not about black versus white. It's not about Jew versus Palestinian. That's what the elites want you to think. It's about the top controlling everybody and enslaving and ruining the middle class and basically creating a peasant class. That's what we're up against. It's not left versus right. All that other stuff is divide and conquer, just reasons for us to fight with ourselves so we can't really see what the issue is. So I'm not sure what will happen. I mean, their concern right now is stealing how are they going to continue to steal the 2024 election? If there is even an election, I think there's a chance that there's some sort of national emergency black swan that happens before the election, that you cannot have in-person voting, that will help them steal the election. And then that combined with, that's probably a money printing catalyst as well. So who knows? I just think between now and the end of the year, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on that we're going to find. I won't find it surprising, but we're going to find it, amazing what they will do. They will go to no end. I mean, think about dictators throughout the world that no longer exist because these dictators stood up for what they believed and went against the U.S. dollar or the U.S. petrodollar. Think about Saddam Hussein. We had fictitious reasons why we went into Iraq. It was only because he was selling oil in non-U.S. dollars. Hands down, that's it. So think about Gaddafi. I mean, think about all of these leaders that are no longer with us. Think about the 2014 coup in Ukraine. That started. It's all the same BS. It's the U.S. government trying to control the world and enslave the whole world. And we're at the end game of this because the fiat dollar is collapsing. The U.S. empire is collapsing. We're in a debt spiral. There is no mathematical way we can get out of it. So it's either super depression or hyperinflation. And no one knows if that's going to be 1 year or 10 years or 20 years. But that's the two options that we have. Barring any huge productivity gain that we could get maybe out of AI or quantum physics or fusion, but those are pipe dreams. We are in a problem. It's a depression like we've never seen before, or it's hyperinflation. That to me are the only two outcomes.
That's a lot to take in, man. It's a lot to unpack there. I think you are dead on. I think you're spot on so many. And I think that, like, you're like, oh, what could this black swan event be? And I mean, I can think about 20 off the top of my head, but which ones are you thinking might play out?
Well, it could be anything as stupid as a UFO, an EMP, a cyber attack, obviously from Russia or China or North Korea.
Definitely not the CIA.
Those are three easy. Disease X, those are four easy ones that, you could expect. I would expect one of those four. And then five would be an unknown, who knows. Those are the five scenarios I would expect to see. And I really expect to see them by the end of the year. I hope I'm not right, but Ryan, unfortunately, I think we're going to be able to play this back and go, wow, he was right on.
I think it couldn't be more accurate, my friend. Let's tell, I want to dive into that rabbit hole a lot more, and I want to unpack that a little bit, but I want to do that when we get off of YouTube. So I want to, I got this stream over here on YouTube up and running before I get my channel deplatformed for the 10th time. Let's give a big shout out to all your Twitter pages and talk a little bit about this Bitcoin Freedom Festival that you guys have going on. I want everybody to swing down in the description and follow the links. I also shared links to direct link where you can buy a Twitter or buy a ticket to the event. It's right at the top of the description. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this event?
Thanks, Ryan. We threw our first freedom. So mass adoption has been around for a little less than 2 years. Within the first year, we all got together and I said, well, why don't we throw a festival? Everyone thought we were crazy. But we did it. We threw it last year. It was in our eyes, it was successful because nothing bad happened. People came and had a great time. We were lucky enough to have the support and speakers of people like Greg Foss, Larry Lepard, BJ Dichter. So we had great people supporting us. It was a great event. So our second annual Freedom Festival is now in Saturday. The festival is in Connecticut. It's really close to Massachusetts, basically an hour from Massachusetts, but it's in Connecticut. It's a New England Freedom Festival. We have a party Friday night at the MGM Grand Hotel, a rooftop party. It's a pleb party hosted by Anders, who throws the pleb parties before BTC Miami and Nashville. So it's amazing. We have Luke. Actually, today I'm picking Luke up. Luke Bros from the airport. He's flying in. He's speaking. I'm getting from the airport today. We had a late entry of Dennis Porter speaking. And Dennis is very important because of all of the regulatory capture that's going on right now. So we're very excited to have him speak. Feel very fortunate and timely to have Dennis speak. Again, Anders, who was the MC of our event last year, is the MC at BTC Prague, which is a 10,000 person event. So a professional, consummate master of ceremonies. We've partnered with Texas Slim and Cattleman's Feast. We did it last year. We provide we buy a cow from a local Massachusetts farm. It's grass-fed. It's non-GMO. It's non-antibiotic. It's non-vaccine, and we chop it up right in the parking lot and we cook it. We fly in our guys from Texas. One's a rancher and one's a butcher, and they chop it up right there. It's the greatest. I mean, if you're not a vegetarian, this is for you. This is amazing. It's all you can eat. We have demonstrations. We have parkour, which we liken to freedom of freedom of movement, which is Bitcoin's freedom money. Parkour is freedom movement. Thank you for putting the tickets up. We have three also different types of tickets. We have the regular general admission. We have the general admission plus the Cattleman's Feast. But we've also come up with a $25. We're trying to make this extremely pleb friendly, and we're trying to get this so non-coiners and shitcoiners will go too. So we're offering a $25 ticket to get into the festival. You won't have complete entree to the whole festival, but you'll have main stage access. So $25, you can probably get a 20% off coupon. So the ticket will cost you $20 to come to the festival. We're offering the same thing for veterans. If you're a veteran, you can buy a $25 ticket. And kids 16 and under are free. So it's family friendly.
Wow.
There's no excuse not to come if you're within the New England area. Besides having you can hang out with some of your favorite Bitcoiners, and just
Michelle Weekly's going to be there too.
Yeah, Michelle spoke at our festival last year. I mean, she brings the juice. Michelle's great. So we're looking forward to Michelle will be at the pleb party on Friday night at the rooftop of the MGM Grand Hotel. So I'm very excited, as you can tell, and I highly suggest anyone in the area that can make it. Spend $20, spend $80, whatever it is. Your life will be enhanced. Your life will be different for the better once you come to this venue and hang out with fabulous Bitcoiners, just talking real signal, real truths, none of this fiat bullshit. Excuse my language.
Nah, man, swear it up over here. We don't hold back. No filters on this show, my friend. That's badass, man. I want to hear about this cow. You said you guys buy a whole cow and you're what with it? You're grilling it right in the, you're butchering it right there in the parking lot and grilling it up?
So we Friday we're picking up a cow that was raised in Athol, 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 Mass. It was grass-fed, grass-fed, none of the junk they put in these cows that go into the USDA processing centers. And we basically buy 50 cinder blocks from Home Depot, a grill, and we light a fire in the parking lot. I mean, on my Twitter feed and the Mass Adoption Twitter feed, there's a lot of video of Butch covering up a cow. It's just amazing. It's really very special. So because one of the things, the food supply, if we think that our money is corrupted, anything downstream is corrupted, including our food supply. So Texas Slim gives a great talk about how there's about 3 or 4 major companies, Cargill, companies like that own the food supply. So right now, there's just like they're centralizing and cutting and removing regional banks to try to only keep some banks. So there's Butch cutting it up. So this is what you get at the Freedom Festival, at the Cattleman's Feast. It's really sick. But so the food supply is corrupted by typical corporate corruption and greed. And you're going to want to be able to know your local rancher, know where your food comes from, know how it was grown. So this is an important part of Bitcoin and freedom. We feel Bitcoin gives you the freedom to live the best life you can live. And once you have Bitcoin, you can start making decisions to enhance your life throughout your life. So what food, what exercise, what books, what type of friends do you hang out with? Do you drink alcohol? Do you do drugs? Bitcoin gives you the strength and the foundation to see those things clearly and to make better decisions. Basically not a high time preference decision like, oh my God, I want to get drunk tonight. Let me drink as many shots as I can take. No, I want to build a family. I want to do the right thing. I want to get to bed early tonight. I want to wake up early. I want to exercise. I want to get a good night's sleep. I don't want to put poison in my body. So Bitcoin, once you get Bitcoin, this is like the most important thing. Besides the number go up technology, which is obviously nice, but that's not the key. Once you get Bitcoin, it allows you to enhance all the other aspects of your life. And for people that don't understand it, they just don't have researched Bitcoin enough to fully understand what I'm talking about. But I'd love to get, do you kind of see that Bitcoin gives you these freedoms and views of looking at life differently?
Yeah, I forget the movie. What movie was that where they put the glasses on? You know, the guy puts he's hunting the bad guys and he puts the glasses on and all of a sudden you can see like they're like satanic, you know what I'm saying? Like when you put the Bitcoin blinders on, or I guess when you have the fiat blinders on, when you put the Bitcoin on, it removes those blinders and you can start seeing everything for what it is. You can see where the corruption starts from, especially within our own government. One of my favorite videos that, you know, back in the day when they wanted to go to war before 1913, the government had to get your support because in order to fund the war, they needed you to buy their bonds. They needed you to buy their war bonds. And if you didn't want to go to war, you didn't buy the bonds, the government couldn't fund a war. And now they have this arbitrary money printer where I tell people, you know, like if Joe Biden wanted to send $250 billion to Ukraine, in order to do that, he would have had to come on the news and tell everybody that their entire next paycheck, the next $5,000 that every single American citizen makes, the government's going to take the first $5,000, and then they're going to increase your taxes for the next year by 20% on top of the 40% they're already taking. And that would have just been so he could give $250 billion to Ukraine. Do you think he would have did that? Or do you think there would have been a revolution in the streets before the next day? It would have been a revolution. So it disincentivizes war. And when you start to realize like everything around that is all fake, you can't unsee it. And it begins this journey of just seeking truth. And I think you're 100% right on everything you said.
But, you know, to say that a little bit differently, not having a hard money in using fiat dollars allows us to fund all these wealth transferring not fictitious wars, people are dying, but fictitious reasons why we're in these wars. Mm-hmm. I mean, fiat money allows you to have all these wars. Fiat money allows you to have this medical industrial complex we have. Mm-hmm. Fiat money allows you to have the agricultural industrial complex we have. The military, it just allows all this bullshit. If you had hard money, 90% of it would be gone, just like that.
Overnight. And that's what you're watching, right? We're watching, and why I think it's going to get so much better is because we're watching the separation of money and state for the first time in all of history. So since the beginning of time, the elite, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, like the top elite players have been able to transfer their wealth across time. Like a lot of these other kings and you know, royal families and stuff, they're no longer at the top of the totem pole, but there's people above them, right, that have managed to maintain their wealth and their power for the last, like, I don't know, 300 years, give or take 400 years. And they've been able to do so because of their control over the money printer. Because they had the ability, like once you have the money, you can store your wealth into things that always appreciate in value. No matter where the currency is going, you're able to store that wealth. Well, the average peasant doesn't have that opportunity. With Bitcoin, you have the ability to buy $20 worth, $5 worth, $10 worth. So no matter what pay scale you're on, you now have a vehicle to project your wealth into the future. And I think that's why they're going to try to stop it so bad, right? They have to. Like the tyrants in control have no other option, right?
It completely removes what we call the Cantillon effect. You know, those closest to the money spigot get the money first and cheapest. So the wealthy get money at 0%, no percent, 1%. Then they'll buy a house or something, a hard asset that goes up 20%, and they'll make that arbitrage, and they'll get extremely wealthy by doing shit just by being born to the right family or having the right connections. So Bitcoin completely eliminates that. So on the flip side, that is why I'm a little hesitant to see how this transition goes, because they will fight tooth and nail for this not to happen. So I'm not quite sure how the final chapters are written.
Do you think there's so the statistics last I saw, 25% of Americans have bought Bitcoin. But I would go as far as saying like less than even 1% of that, of that 25% actually understand Bitcoin and are allocating like a good percentage of their wealth to Bitcoin. If they froze banks or completely cut the USA off from Bitcoin tomorrow, do you think that there's enough people that could survive what's coming? Do you think that there's a possibility that we transition to Bitcoin without the entire middle class going bankrupt? Or I guess actually let me rephrase that. What percentage of our country do you think is going to go bankrupt in the next 12 months?
Bankrupt. It depends on so many factors. It depends on basically, interest rates are big. People that so here's the problem. People are used to leverage and they're used to low interest rates, and they've built their career the last 20 years on low interest rates and leverage. But once the interest rates go up and the value of the asset goes down, you got a big problem. And the music stops and people run to find any chair they can find. And a little secret between you and I, Ryan, there's not enough chairs. So that's going to happen. I don't know when. It doesn't matter when. All you can do as an individual is protect yourself and your family and buy and stack as much Bitcoin as you can. Whether that means it's 1,000 Satoshis or one full Bitcoin. I lost a lot of Bitcoin in the craziness of the FTX days. And I was very upset and depressed and mad at myself. And then 2 days later, I'm like, all right, your mourning period's over. You're faced with the rest of your life. You still have your family. What are you going to do? So it doesn't matter if you have one Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin, one Satoshi. You can only do the best you can do. In my opinion, gold, silver, commodities, cocoa, palladium, stocks, equities, bonds, real estate. Forget all that shit. Buy as much Bitcoin as you can.
Amen.
Because all of that other stuff I just discussed are going to get crushed in the fiat tsunami that's coming. And that doesn't mean I'm not saying Bitcoin's not going to go down during that tsunami. But it's going to go up the quickest. Mm-hmm. And it's unconfiscatable if you hold it properly. You can't inflate it. There's no third-party risk. Obviously, it's divisible. It's portable. So that is the number one horse in the race, as Paul Tudor Jones used to say. It's the fastest horse in the race. So, they talk about diversity and all this stuff. I don't fully believe in diversity. I say find the best asset and hold it.
I agree.
So
diversity
is
is
not
protection
financial
against
advice.
ignorance.
Please, not financial advice. But it's just what I have been doing. And I just feel, listen, if I'm wrong, I own a house, so I have real estate. I'm not selling that to buy Bitcoin. I'm not that crazy. I got to still live in the fiat world. But every other extra dollar I have liquid goes into Bitcoin.
You had said you got jammed up in the FTX collapse, and I thought I heard you say BlockFi earlier as well. Talk us through that. So because I think a lot of people are going to make the same mistake this bull run. They're going to get caught in that. I have horror stories as well with exchanges, but mine were before 2020, right? So 2020, you're watching Sailor, you're hearing all these people say, not your keys, not your crypto. You get into an asset at some at around 3,000 and some around 11,000 or whatever it was. And this asset's going up at like hundreds and hundreds of percents. And that wasn't good enough. So you still had to go get more interest, or some reason you went to these centralized exchanges. What was that? And what was the mindset behind it?
In retrospect, it was fiat greed. FIATGREED.
Yep.
Fiat greed. I was still a product of the fiat world. I had done well. I had sold businesses. I thought that was the only system that we had. I mean, I didn't realize there was this whole other Bitcoin system. So it was fiat greed. And I got my ass handed to me, which is what happens when you get greedy. I was buying Bitcoin I mean, it was at $3,000. It went to like $10,000 in 2 weeks, and then it went to 70,000. Like, oh my God, what's going on? So I put so much money into it. This is also another mistake I don't want people to make. I was so gung ho. I put all of my liquid net worth into Bitcoin, and then I have a family with children and a wife and a car and a house and all this stuff, and I was basically saying, you can't spend any money, guys, and they were giving me big pushback. Because like, we don't have any money. Like, what do you mean we don't have any money? Like, well, we're on a Bitcoin standard. We don't have any money.
Yeah.
So I truly did that. And so then I was at BlockFi. They would give me 7% on my Bitcoin. I'm like, oh my God, maybe this is the new system. This is ridiculous. It's a great world. And I had a good amount of money with them. And I called them up and I said, well, how do you even do this? Like, and they gave me the whole song and dance and all this stuff. And so I was actually also buying Bitcoin, sending it to BlockFi, taking a 50% loan to value on Bitcoin, and then buying more Bitcoin with those funds. So it was my own little personal Ponzi scheme that I was doing.
Yep.
And like most Ponzi schemes, they don't end up well.
Yep.
And so because Bitcoin, I'm like, well, there's no way Bitcoin's going to crash from 60 to 30 because all the institutions are coming, and it might go down to 20. And if I have to add a little more collateral, I will. Well, I didn't plan on the terrible case scenario, and that happened. So I got margin calls. I let some go. Did a whole bunch of mess. I lost a lot of Bitcoin, and I learned a lesson. Don't be greedy. Don't get over your skis. Don't put too much in that you'll become a forced seller at some point if shit hits the fan. And you can sleep. Listen, I wasn't even sleeping back then at night. I had so much money in Bitcoin, and I was basically staying up all night just watching the prices, whether I was scared, whether I was excited. I mean, it was a crazy time back then.
Yeah.
And I went through it. And I'm here to say I survived. Yes.
Where did you go from there? What was it like going through that? You watched your portfolio go down, you got wrecked. What did the family say?
It was a large amount of money. For me, a large amount of money. I didn't tell my family everything because they didn't agree with what I was doing anyways.
Yep.
So I tried to keep it as normal at my household as possible. I was completely depressed, upset. I have physical issues and challenges, so I really became really much more physically disabled. It was very tough. But I learned a lot, and I was speaking to one of my good friends who runs a big Bitcoin hedge fund, and he said, "Well, Jeff, that's the price of admission." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess you're right, but I wish I didn't go to this school."
Yeah, man.
But I'm a graduate of it, right?
Yep. So what was the motivation to get back on the skis? What was it like getting back up from?
I had no choice. I had zero choice. What are my options? I knew the world of Bitcoin. I knew that's the right place to be. And I just started stacking sats again. And when you do things properly, it's just weird how money starts flowing to you and ideas positive things start happening to you. So when I got myself rebalanced on a strong foundation, not greedy, not over my skis, not leveraging, and just stacking sats, putting it in cold storage, and going, Jeff, if you die tomorrow, your kids will have some Bitcoin, like things will be okay. Don't get so crazy about this whole thing. And that's where I am today, in a much better position. And I have a lot less Bitcoin than I had before. But I'm so grateful to have the Bitcoin that I have. And I will continue to stack sats going forward. So the story's not over, but it was a tough road back, but I'm here.
Yeah, man. And look at you. You're like you said, I don't know. It's so impressive. You got rocked, and you got rocked by our government, and then you got rocked by greed, and then you're just so, I don't know. You didn't give up, man, and it's so inspirational. I think that a lot of people, I've lost millions twice now. Same thing, leaving it on centralized exchanges, but I wasn't getting greedy. I was just dumb, and I thought diversifying meant keeping your crypto on multiple exchanges and not having it all on one exchange. And two of them hit me. right? So 2 out of the 3 got rocked, and I had a lot of crypto on there, and I lost it all. Or one of them, they sold it all at the bottom of the 09 or 2019 bear market. They sold it all, converted it all to fiat or to a stable coin, and I didn't know. I didn't get the email, so I pulled up my account in the 2020 bull run, thinking I had no idea how much I had in there, but I knew it was a lot. You know, I was just excited. I didn't want to look in there, and I went to look, and it's like, oh, we no longer service USA exchanges, and I'm like, what? We sent you an email, and I opened the email, and it's like, by the way, we converted all of your crypto. Well, this was like when Cardano was like
bottom of the market.
Yeah, it was the absolute, like it was the worst. You couldn't have picked a more perfect time to do that. It was like, I don't know. So yeah, so I've been there, man. I know what that's like, and to come back from it too. Were you ever into shitcoins or only Bitcoin?
I during my journey in my research days, I was a shitcoiner. I was a chain link guy.
Yep.
A little Ethereum, but more, I dug into chain link. I liked the way I like what they were doing. It made a lot of sense.
Yep.
But I realized it's all bullshit anyways. Even though they, portray a reason for being, it's still centralized and manipulated. So I didn't lose a ton of money there. I just realized that Bitcoin was the the apex asset that I had to own, and everything else was shit. So I just got rid of the shitcoins. I didn't have a crazy shitcoin story. Yeah, I made some money, but I was trying to trade shitcoins to buy Bitcoin. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're never going to time it right. Every idiot out there is doing the same thing. Just buy Bitcoin and have patience. Have patience.
So I want to dive into a little bit more of what's going on. We're going to end this one over here on YouTube, and we're going to dive into the rabbit hole of what's going on with our treasonous government. So if you guys are following us on Twitter or over here on Twitter, glad that you guys are going to stay around, and we're just going to shut off the YouTube stream. So I greatly appreciate you guys over on YouTube. Oops.
My name is Paul Revere.
Oops.
And I'm here